I'm Nayyirah Shariff, and even though I've gone in and out of formally working on environmental justice issues that was kind of framed as this is an environmental justice issue, and then other things like how I got to this whole, I would say this new wave is because of Michigan's neoliberalist and proto-fascist emergency manager law, when it was, so in March of 2011, the Michigan legislature adopted emergency manager law, which is one of the most extreme versions of this particular sort of law in the nation. And the emergency manager law basically posits if you're a poor community, you lose your right to democracy for financial reasons. So it's not because of a war. I mean, wars have been won and lost for democracy, and in Michigan we lost it with the stroke of a pen and with a series of votes in our legislature. So Michigan's emergency manager law, emergency manager is an unelected bureaucrat that could come into your school district or your municipality, and when they come in, they automatically take over 2 branches of your local government. The salaries of those, the salaries of those elected officials, so for a school district, that is your school board and superintendent. For a municipality, that is your city council and mayor. They're automatically zeroed out, and then the emergency manager would create through executive orders what those responsibilities for those elected officials moving forward. So it turns your local elected officials from being autonomous and exercising, being accountable to the people, to being employees of the emergency manager. And also the emergency manager has the power to sell off public assets without the vote of the people. They have the power to hire and fire employees. They have a power to renegotiate union contracts or vendor contracts without a vote of those unions to consent to those measures. And they also have the power to dissolve municipalities. So, but one thing that they do not have the power to do is they don't have the power to renegotiate with Wall Street. So bond payments are paid in full and on time. So when that happened, emergency manager law was contested from the very beginning. There has been challenged in the courts from the very beginning. And there were groups that organized themselves. It wasn't the traditional like allies, progressive allies. It was grassroots groups. They organized themselves to decided that they wanted to do a referendum. And when the city of Flint, on our election day, when we were electing a mayor, the state made the decision and made the announcement that the city of Flint was going to go into receivership. And after that, there was a kind of loose confederation of folks who were collecting signatures for a referendum, and then also when we were going to receivership, there was a group of people who said, hey, we need to confront this, because now this isn't just like an ideological, like this is kind of wrong, like we're going to actually going to experience it. And that's how the Flint Democracy Defense League was formed. And got into, I would say, the whole water fight, one, because it was an action of Flint's emergency manager, made the decision to draw from the Flint River, made the decision to move away from the Detroit Water and Sewer Department. And so we also got into this whole water fight because Flint pays one of the highest rates for water in the nation, and we're still paying that rate. People are still like losing their homes because of this water. So that was the reason why we got into this, mostly because it was the cost before we could even dream that there was something wrong with the water. So, and also one of the things that was happening at the same time after the emergency manager made the switch to draw from the Flint River, we had apartment complexes and trailer parks. The owners were not paying the water bills. People were paying like their lot rent and their rent. And the city of Flint, or really the emergency manager, was condemning those properties and kicking them. they had to vacate those properties. So we were really drawing into, I would say, like with that. And so like as we started to learn more and more about the water, once again, we organized ourselves. It wasn't like the traditional nonprofits or traditional groups or even environmental groups. When we tried to contact like Sierra Club, Clean Water, like these traditional environmental groups, they're like, not only we don't deal with like, we're like, you deal with water, right? And they're like, no, we don't deal with that type of water. We just deal with water that's going in a river, and we want to create like this primordial sort of like fallacy that people never lived there. Like we just want to like make sure that nobody ever touches that. So we had to organize ourselves once again, and really push the narrative and moving and raising the narrative, organizing ourselves, the dirty, like not unsexy, doing one-on-one conversations, hosting community meetings, doing canvases to inform people to not drink that water. And so after we worked with Mark Edwards and designed a citizen science process where we had people test their own water, and after we got institutional acknowledgement that there was an issue with the water, and then after the emergency declarations, we were like, finally, the state's gonna act like they got the shit together, and we're gonna actually have resources coming to Flint, and that did not happen. So Flint Rising actually began with a canvas because the undocumented community did not know that there was a water emergency and lead contamination until 2 weeks after the federal declaration state of emergency for lead contamination. How they found out is because it became international news, and their families are calling from their countries of origin and telling them to not drink the water. So when I went to the state's website, all of the materials are only in English, and we have a undocumented Spanish-speaking community that lives within the city of Flint. We also have Yemeni and Syrian refugees, and we have international student population that attends like two of our, we have a U of M Flint campus, and then we have Kettering University that has international students living there. So we started going door to door, realizing that the state really wasn't doing jack squat. It was already, very problematic for the state that was in charge of our recovery, because it really feels like if you study domestic violence, like circle violence, because like our state's our abuser, and now the response of our treatment. So that is, let's say that's super duper horrible. So we really got together and we're like, look, we need to have a way for us to really organize, because now we got to organize again because the state's not doing their job, and we have a lot of people who who believe the state's narrative that the water was safe to drink. They're getting sick, their children are being sick, and they're traumatized. So we need to find a way to move them from paralysis to action, and then also create like in alignment with like many people's values, that all of these things are happening and we still have paternalistic decision making, which was really like reinforced by the emergency manager law. So we want to shift and create like another paradigm, and that's really how what became Flint Rising. That's how it was born. And so Flint Rising has 3 demands. 1, we don't pay for poison. We need immediate refund for all water bills from April 2014 is when they switched to the Flint River, and we shouldn't have to pay a water bill until they figure out what the hell's wrong with that water, and the water safe to drink coming out of our taps unfiltered. 2, our families deserve to be healthy. We need long-term medical care and wraparound services, educational services for all of Flint, not just certain segments of the population, because that's what's happening right now. And then finally, like, they need to fix what they broke. We need full replacement of all contaminated lines